Hey guys, today my guest is Jared Gordon, an accomplished UFC fighter with a story of resilience. Life threw him hardships that would have broken most people, but through faith, friends, and sheer determination, Jared overcame it all to reach the UFC and beyond. And we have the honor to hear his story. I'm excited for y'all to hear this one. I think where I want to start is you were born in New York, right?
Correct. Manhattan.
Manhattan. You grew up in New York.
I grew up in Long Island in Nassau County for the first 12 years of my life, and then I moved to Astoria, Queens.
What was that like?
It was great. Fucking New York's the shit. Love New York, miss New York. It made me who I am. So living in Long Island, I grew up on the North Shore of Long Island, a very wealthy area. My father was a blue-collar guy, but he did very well for himself. And we lived in a town called Roslyn Heights, predominantly Jewish heritage. And then like the others were just like Italians and Irish people and like, a few Indians or Chinese or something like that. I went to Wheatley School District, or the East Williston School District. The high school that I went to there, the high school that I was zoned for there was the nation's the number one leading high school in the nation, public school. Very nice neighborhood. Everyone that I grew up with was very wealthy, did very well. Their families did very well for themselves. Like old money, old Westbury, New York, like real big money. I went to school with Howard Stern's kids. I went to school with the creators of like WB11, Cablevision, MTV, a lot of wealthy people, doctors, lawyers, all that stuff. But it was like you thought like you'd be in this area that like didn't have any problems because of all the wealth. That was not the case. So like all the kids, they got their driver licenses when they were 15, 16. They're driving around in Mercedes and BMWs, drunk, crashing cars, killing themselves, big, like easy access to drugs and alcohol because everyone had money. And all the older kids, it was a small school district. So everybody knew each other. So like all the older kids, funneled the drugs and alcohol down to the younger kids. And that's how it went. Like there's I had a lot of really bad influences in my life, living there. And, I started smoking pot when I was 9 years old, living in Long Island. Yeah.
Wow.
That's really, like, looking back at it, it's so fucking young, 9 years old, to smoke pot, drink alcohol. By the time I was 11, I was smoking pot every day. I had a friend who literally lived a few houses down that was like 12 or 13 at the time, and he was selling weed. All I had to do is, yo, what's up? I'm coming over, ride my bike over there. And I always had money. So it was really easy for us to access drugs and alcohol. And all the kids I grew up with were the same. Like we all wanted to drink and get high, and everyone's, parents are at work after school. We're all smoking pot at each other's houses, or, hanging out after school on the weekends, house parties. And yeah, I was introduced to hardcore drugs when I was young, like 12, 13. I was sniffing coke regularly. Xanax, Klonopin, Valium, ecstasy, drugs like that. And then later on in life, I found opiates when I was like 18, 19. But yeah, so kids were overdosing, getting into car wrecks, drunk. And early on in my life, I was already introduced to that. Then when I was 13 years old, my father's business actually blew up and killed 3 FDNY guys. It was called the Father's Day Fire. It was in Long Island City.
Wow.
Father's Day. All the men that died had children. So it was called the Father's Day Fire. Like 60 FDNY and NYPD guys got injured right before 9/11 on Father's Day. So
wow.
Father's Day 2001. And then 9/11 happened shortly after that. in September.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like swept it under the rug, It was the deadliest fire in New York City since 1969. This was
Wow.
2001, 5 alarm fire. Mayor Giuliani was there, but I think Bloomberg came while it was burning down. And then, 9/11 came and it kind of just was like, swept that under the rug. But when that had happened, my father had lost a lot of time and money. He had to rebuild. He went through the most insane trial because the widows were trying to sue my father. But it was really the FDNY's fault for how it happened. So they ended up suing. It was the widows versus FDNY or the city of New York and Rob and Randy Gordon. Randy's my uncle. Rob is my father. Well, when that happened, it cost millions of dollars. My dad lost so much money and we couldn't afford to live where we were living anymore. Well, it's not that we couldn't afford to live there. It just didn't make sense.
Yeah. What'd your dad do?
He owned a wholesale hardware company.
Okay.
So he did like wholesale for hardware, anything hardware that you can think of. Salt for snow blowers, shovels, plumbing, electrical, paint. He had a Benjamin Moore line. Anything you could think of, flashlights, hammers, nails, whatever you could think, hardware, anything that Home Depot sells, my father sold.
Yep.
In the city, it was my grandfather's business, and my uncle and my father made it into like a big company, and they did wholesale to all the boroughs, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx, Manhattan, even like Mount Vernon, the Yonkers outside of the city. And that's what they did. They had a retail store, which was like a little mini Home Depot, and they did a wholesale operation. And they did very well for themselves until, the fire happened, and it was a nightmare. Took 12 years for them to have trial.
Wow.
Finally they settled. The widows got like $20 million or something from the insurance company. And actually the people that were blamed really was the people that installed the boiler in my father's business. They were found to be at fault for the way the boiler was installed, whatever. So they got like 12 million from A.O. Smith, which was the boiler company, and a few million from my father's insurance company. But when that happened, it took a big toll on us, and we ended up moving to Queens to be closer to the business. So I ended up finishing high school in Queens, which was like a huge culture shock for me. Moving, predominantly white neighborhood to now I'm going to school in Queens. Like my high school was down the block from Queensbridge housing projects. So now I'm like taking the subway to school. It was a whole new way of life. And actually thank God it happened because it changed me and made me who I am today. And it was like, it was actually like a huge blessing for me. Because if I stayed in that bubble in Long Island, it would have destroyed me. But I got to live in Queens. I moved to Astoria, Queens, which is like one of the most diverse neighborhoods in the whole world. Like that area where I grew up in Jackson Heights, Queens, Elmhurst, or Jackson Heights, Astoria, Elmhurst, Corona. It's considered the melting pot of the nation. So they speak like 100 different languages there.
Wow.
Culture you can think of is in that neighborhood. And now I'm going to school in Queens. I'm going to Manhattan. I'm like going to the different boroughs. I have friends that live all over the boroughs. So it was a really great experience for me, and it changed me. But it also kept me going down a path that wasn't the greatest, So that was like early. We can get into later on. But that was like how growing up was for me.
Yeah.
But before we go any further, I might as well say this. So I went to sleepaway camp when I was like 7, 8 years old. My parents used to send us to Pennsylvania to go to sleepaway camp. And while I was there, I was sexually assaulted by a male counselor, full on assault. And that is like in retrospect, looking back at it, is what changed me completely. And it was like a breaking point in my life. And I went from this, like happy go lucky kid, athlete, playing sports, blah, 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 to just like closed off, isolated. And I started turning like kind of violent. Like I wanted to hurt anyone that would come near me. I was afraid of now. Um, and then shortly after that, I started smoking pot. I came home from camp, and that September, I turned 9, September 6th. And that September was the first time I smoked weed. So I was 9 years old. It was right after the assault. So like that was kind of like the breaking point. And like when I smoked pot for the first time, I was like, oh, this is what life is all about. Like I thought I found like my my medicine or whatever. Like, and from that point on, like I wanted to experience like all the different drugs, like what they did, how they affected you. And I remember thinking that to myself, like, I want to try all of it because I don't want to feel what I feel anymore.
Yep.
And like weed, like I loved weed. I liked drinking alcohol, loved drinking alcohol, but like it wasn't like enough. So I kept it looking, searching for an answer, and loved Coke. Coke became like one of my drug of choices. Later on, it turned into IV Coke. I smoked crack before I smoked Coke, but once I started shooting Coke, I was like, this is it. And then eventually I found painkillers, Oxy, all that, and turned into heroin. And yeah, I loved fucking heroin, loved opiates, loved Coke, loved mixing it all. And yeah, so started going to high school in Queens. I graduated high school. I found MMA, and I had gotten accepted to LIU, to Long Island University. Funny enough, for the pharmacy program. I was going to get my doctorates in pharmacy, which is hysterical because I ended up being a fucking pill junkie, And my dad was like, listen, so I started training, fighting, and I had my first amateur fight. I won. I fell in love with the sport. And he was like, you got to choose one, man. He's like, you're either going to go to school, become a farmer, and go, get your doctorate, or focus on fighting. What do you want to do? And I was like, I'm going to fight. And I remember seeing my dad like roll his eyes like, oh, fuck. Oh. And it turned out to be like one of the greatest things I ever did.
Yeah.
And then that was it. I started training. But then like now I'm like, I had my first amateur fight when I was 17 or 18. But this is now when I started to get introduced to Vicodin and Percocet, got addicted to painkillers. And then shortly after that, I found Oxycontin. I remember the first time I took a Roxy, and I was like, holy shit, I fucking found it. I found what's going to fix everything. And that was it. I got fully addicted to painkillers. I started, doing the whole doctor shopping, selling pills, selling weed. And that was like my thing. So like I always had this feeling like even when I was a young kid, like 13, 14, like in the pit of my stomach, that there was like something bigger for me. Like out, like I was like, and like I knew it wasn't about going to college. And like doing what every other kid did, which was graduate high school, go to college, get a job, get married, and have, a life, which is fine. Obviously, that's great. But like, I always felt like there was something bigger for me. Like school's not it. Like I'm not going to fucking college. Like, first of all, I hated school. I didn't want to go to class. I didn't want to study. I didn't want to like learn about shit I didn't care about. And so whatever, I graduated school, but like there was always this bigger feeling. And like, so I got introduced, not to like glamorize it, to selling drugs at a young age. I was selling Coke when I was like 13, selling weed,
Wow.
selling pills. I was working at a pharmacy. I was stealing the pills when I was like 14, Xanax, all these, and I was selling them. And like, so like in my head, I was like, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be a drug dealer. I'm going to get rich. and I'm going to open up a business, and like that will be how I create my empire. And like I did that for a while. I did really well actually. I remember I saved up like 120 grand in cash.
Wow.
17. I had a safety deposit box on Ditmars Boulevard at Astoria Federal Bank. And I used to go in there every week. And I remember looking at all this cash in the safety deposit box and being like, holy shit, I did it. You know, I was like 17. I ended up spending all that money on lawyers and drugs and cars and all sorts of stupid shit. But I thought that that was like my purpose, was to sell drugs, save a bunch of money and do something with the money. And that changed. Like once I found fighting, you know, like I was a complete drug addict. And then I finally got sober when I was 27. Between the ages of like 19 and 27, I had some periods of abstinence where I was sober for like 20 months or a year and a half or 6 months. And in those times of abstinence, I would fight and I would win. I would fight 3-4 times, win all of the fights, and then I'd relapse. And then I'd use for a few months, 6 months, a year. I'd end up at the hospital or go to jail or go to treatment. I'd get sober. And I'd do the same thing. I'd get sober. I'd win 3, 4, 5 fights, relapse. So it came to a point where I compiled a record. I was like 9-0 or 9-1 or something as a pro. I was 27. I had just ended up back in treatment. I had my third and hopefully final overdose. I overdosed on Christmas Eve, 2015. And, you know, I had been to like treatment like 12 times or something already at that point. I had multiple hospital stays. I ended up in psych wards. I got arrested and was in jail like 8 times. I panhandled. I was homeless. I've been in homeless shelters, crisis centers. I went to a TC, a therapeutic community, for 6 months. Which was like treatment, like hardcore treatment, basically. And I ended up in this place, Creedmoor, and it's like an insane asylum in Queens. But on the compound, they have like a substance abuse treatment center. And I ended up in Flushing Hospital. I overdosed. I was in Flushing Hospital. I detoxed there. They had a great detox. And actually, I'm still friends with one of the nurses. We speak every now and then. The guy really helped me. It was disgusting. State-run facility. People shitting in their pants in the like in the room in the common room. You know, like where people would eat and watch TV and shit. And we're all wearing hospital gowns, detoxing off heroin and all sorts of alcohol, crazy drugs. Everyone's homeless, and you know they're in the hospital just to get a few meals and a nice warm bed for a few days, week, and then they go back in the street. And that's like a normal thing for people to do that are homeless. Like, oh, let me go to the hospital for a week or two, you know, get a couple meals, feel better, and then I'll go back to drinking or drugging, whatever, you know, go back on the street. But for me, I was like, yeah, I'm done with this. I like had this crazy episode of, before I overdosed, I was shooting so much coke, I was hallucinating so bad. Like I was up for days, and I just was like I thought people were following me, trying to rob me and kill me, and like I thought the FBI was after me, all this crazy, you know, you're fucking hallucinating on drugs. And I overdosed. I ended up in the hospital, and I remember going to the hospital with 2 cops in the back of the ambulance. And I had a bunch of heroin and coke and a bunch of cash on me. And they found it, and they were like, listen, you have enough drugs for us to bring you to fucking you're going to go to Rikers. I had like a few bundles of heroin, a bunch of like a few 8 balls of cocaine. I had like 5 grand in cash. And they were like, yo, we could book you on a felony right now. You're going to fucking Rikers. But they were like, it's Christmas Eve. We don't want to do the paperwork. We know you're a fucking drug addict. Because I had I just overdosed, I'm shooting up, but there was needles and bags of heroin and cocaine all over the room. They know I was an addict, so it's not like I was a drug dealer, or it's not like I was selling those drugs. So they're like, listen, we're going to take the drugs. We'll let you keep the cash, and we're going to fucking let you off at the hospital, and that's it. And I was like, holy shit, thank you so much. you know? And they let me off. I was in the hospital. All I had was a pair of jeans, no socks, no shirt, nothing. I wake up in the hospital the next day, dope sick. I fucking ripped the IV out of my arm. I walked out of the hospital with the hospital gown on, pair of jeans, no socks, just hospital socks on. I walked 3 miles home. It was December 26th, freezing cold, Queens, New York. I walked all the way home 3 miles to my house, and I opened the door, and my parents opened the door, and they looked like fucking ghosts, you know? They were like, they thought maybe I was dead. They had no idea where I was. And they're like, why are you here? And I was like, I just need a pair of sneakers and a sweater. I'm going to detox right now. And they're like, all right. So they gave me sneakers, sweater. I called my dealer one more time because I was so dope sick. Got high, shot some dope, felt better, went to detox, and I've been sober ever since. Well, my sober date is December 27, 2015.
Wow.
And I had this guy, Tommy, who I literally just spoke to yesterday. He became my AA sponsor. He was trying really hard to help me get sober. And he's like, Jared, you fucking just listen to me. Gotta give it to God. Go to treatment, get clean, and go to fucking meetings, and you'll get sober. And I'm like, all right. So I'm in detox, or so they sent me from detox to this place called Creedmoor, this insane asylum. I'm in a stay-run facility, shitty, but not bad. I was just homeless, basically couch surfing, motel to motel, shooting dope. It was been 3 weeks at this point. I was starting to feel a little better. I was still coming out of my, being dope sick, but I was definitely feeling better. And I had a hoodie, a sweater on. And Christmas had just ended. So there were still Christmas decorations up, and that Christmas cheer was still in the air. And I remember this vividly. It was a Friday night, and they used to give us free time on Friday nights. Do what you want, watch movies, play cards, whatever, play games with the other people that were in the place. And I remember it snowed 5 feet that night. And I remember looking out the window and being like, fuck, fucking stuck here. But and then I was like, I closed my eyes and I was like, this is not that bad though, I'm not getting high, or I'm sober right now. I feel pretty good. I got a full belly. I'm in a warm place. I'm comfortable. And I remember closing my eyes and just being like, all right, God, I don't know how you work. I don't know how you do this, but here I am. So my dad's a Jew. My mom's Catholic Sicilian. So I grew up in a weird household,
Mm-hmm.
Eating bagels and lox in the morning, and then at nighttime I'm eating pasta and meatballs,
Yep.
And we're from New York, so everything is we didn't go to church. I didn't get confirmed. I didn't have a bar mitzvah. I didn't have a communion. I didn't do any of that shit. I did go to temple for a few years, Hebrew school for 2 years. And then my mom was like, yeah, let's just do the Italian Catholic thing when we celebrated Easter and Christmas. Especially once we moved to Queens, it was all about being Catholic. So it was weird for me growing up. I didn't have a God or a higher power in my life, until I got sober. And then he just started kind of working. I didn't know what to do. I just took suggestions from my AA sponsor and went to meetings. I did my 12 steps. I got sober, tried helping other people, sponsoring guys and helping people get sober. And it kind of just started working. I started fighting, training again. Within a year of getting out of treatment, 13 months later, I was in UFC. So I
Wow.
got sober 5 or 6 months later. I fought for a regional title. I won by knockout. I defended, or I took a short notice fight like 3 weeks after that. I won that by rear naked. And then I fought a guy on Dana White's Looking for a Fight show.
Yep.
Bill Algeo, who ended up being in the UFC as well. I won, and Dana gave me a contract that night. That was 13 months after getting sober. So,
Wow.
and then that's it. It's almost been 10 years since I got sober. December will be 10 years. And still in the UFC. It's been a fucking weird, hard road for me. But I'm doing pretty well. I'm making good money, thank God. It's paid off. I own my home. I got a daughter. I just had my first child 8 months ago. My baby daughter, she's the best thing that ever happened to me. I got my wife, who I've known since first grade.
Wow.
My wife, Christina, Miss Gambino. She seen it all, been through it all with me. All our friends dying from drug overdoses and deaths, tragedies, family deaths, my addiction, all the other problems that come along with me. she's been there with me through it all, and without her, I don't think I wouldn't fucking be alive, bro. I'd be fucking dead or in jail. Yeah, she's like the backbone, and she like reels me in when I need to be reeled in. She's
Yep.
like true woman of faith, like never wavers in her faith no matter what. And she's also a savage herself. She was an elite gymnast. She was on the show American Ninja Warrior 4 times. She owns a Ninja Warrior gym. She owns a gymnastics music company. She's a landlord. She's savage herself. And she's like from God for sure, for me. Well, that's like where I'm at right now. I just went through some bullshit 2 weeks ago. Fucking tough, weird
Yeah.
situation. Had a big fight. Day of weigh-ins, I got ran over by a car. Like 2 hours after weigh-ins, my leg got ran over by a car. Like backing it.
Holy shit. I didn't know that.
It was really weird. I was like standing in kind of in the street, but not. I was on the sidewalk, and there was a car like right here backing up this way, and I'm looking this way. And the person in the car is being backed out by someone on the other side of the car. They're like waving them on. So they're looking the other way, or they're looking this way. I'm standing here looking that way. And like they're turning, they're coming down. And as like the back of the car starts going this way, so the front of the car started turning out. And all of a sudden my fucking right foot is underneath the front wheel of the tire, or the front tire on the right-hand side of the car. And I'm like, what the fuck? I like yelped out. I was like, oh, and the front of the bumper started turning this way, and it hit my knee, and it sprained my MCL and my ACL. I just got the MRI results like 2 days ago. 2 hours after weigh-ins. So I'm like, what the fuck? Like, and I'm like, all right, I think I'm okay. But like my knee hurt. I could feel it hurt, but it wasn't like anything insane feeling. Like I didn't feel cracks or pops. So I was like, maybe I'm okay. Just scared me. And then like by that night, my knee was stiff as fuck. And then of course the next day is always the worst day. You go to sleep, you wake up, my knee was stiff as shit. And I'm like, holy fuck, like what do I do? Like I weighed in, I had like 30 people in Texas for the fight. I spent like $25,000 on fight camp.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in the main card, big opportunity. I'm like, fuck it, I'm fighting. I don't give a fuck. I'll trust God. It was a great fight. I ended up fucking losing. Maybe I should have pulled out. My manager was like, why the fuck didn't you tell me? Could have pushed it or something. But you just never know, bro. Like, you don't know what the UFC is how they feel. Oh, you pull out. can't trust you. On the day of weigh-ins, you made weight. Why the fuck do you have to pull out? Like, what the fuck is the issue? Like, you got hit by a car? What are you, retarded? Like, like, and it was like 1 in a trillion. Like, I wasn't in the street. Like, I was on the sidewalk and the car just clipped me and that was it. But it's a car, it's my knee versus a car. Fucking sprained my knee.
Wow.
And like, looking back at it, my wife was like, could have discussed this more thoroughly. Like, you just said, no, Christina, I'm fighting. But like in my head, I'm like, I gotta fight. Money, this, that, all the fears start flooding in. What is the UFC gonna think? Main card, I'm gonna ruin this. I could beat this guy. I almost did. With one leg.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work out, bro. And I was so fucking depressed, bro. I was so mad. I'm still pissed off. But
I was gonna ask, like, how I mean, coming off a win against Thiago,
yeah,
and then that, I didn't know you were fighting with a busted knee.
Look at my page, my Instagram. I did an interview with Full Send MMA, spoke about it, and for some reason, like, people were telling me, like, so like 3 or 4 hours or a couple hours before the fight, the whole line shifted. Like, so I was the favorite. The line shifted big time. So someone leaked the information and Vegas found out and the line shifted. So people knew. Like, it wasn't like, oh, he's lying about getting hurt. And I came into the fight, I was wearing 2 knee braces on one leg.
Wow.
And then, like, everybody knew, like, even my Cub Swanson, who cornered against me, was like,
yep.
Right after the fight, he was like, "You're injured, huh?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "I knew it. As soon as you got in the cage, I knew you were injured." So, it sucks. And it was really hard to navigate it because, like, in my head, I'm like, I thought this was my time to fucking get top 15 shot, make something big, cool happen. I got a few years left. But nope, just another setback. And in my head, I'm like, fuck this. I'm going to kill myself. I'm going to go get high. And like, I know that's all bullshit. Like, I'm really not going to do things, but these are like the thoughts.
Yep.
I'm flooding in like, fuck, I'm a fucking loser. I'm a waste of fucking time. I should have died a junkie. These are the thoughts that are like going through my head. Fucking God hates me. He's always fucking me over. Always in my biggest moments, he fucks me. If I'm not getting robbed in fights, I'm getting run over the day before the fight. What the fuck is this? Just weird shit, man. My career has been weird. These last few years have been very strange and weird. Like, I have great moments and then weird moments. Great moments and then weird moments. And I don't know. It's God testing me maybe for the future, making me stronger, better. I don't know what the fuck he's doing. Only time will tell, but like, what am I going to do? Bitch about it, be a fucking pussy about it. So I just gotta like take it in stride, believe that there's a bigger plan, have faith, just fucking get back and be better than I ever was before. That's all I can do.
I mean, you just answered my question. I was going to ask you, like, if you could only have a positive outlook on this, like, only, because it goes real fast, like one side or the other. And we always have the devil and the angel on our shoulder. And it's always the devil who gets most of the attention of like, oh, I'm going to listen to that more. But if you could only listen to the positive, what would that be saying? Like, what, like the trajectory of your life?
I mean, dude, like, so like, you want me to tell you what like the future looks like or what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I'm saying in your head, with everything that happened, like you're saying, you're about to fight and you get ran over, or something else happens where it just feels like setback after setback. If you were only able to look at it from a positive perspective, what would you say? Like you were kind of saying like God's working in my life somehow,
I mean,
but
that's really it, I guess. Like, there's a bigger plan. There's something better. Like, if I won that fight, maybe it would have led me to something worse. Or like down a worse path, or maybe I would have had something happen after that was worse. But going this way will bring you to a greener pasture. So That's really the only way I could look at it. Because anytime I've had setbacks, weird big setbacks, I've come back better and stronger. And so this is like how I thrive. That's what it seems like. Is like the story of my life is like my biggest setbacks and downfalls set me up for my biggest leaps forward.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I have to keep looking at it, because worse shit has happened to me than losing a fight, you know?
Yeah.
And like I've made like major comebacks. I do it every year almost. I do like something happens and I'm back better. So that's like my narrative, and that's how I'm gonna have to keep going. Um, that's the only way to look at it.
Yep. Yeah. Well, having a kid, congratulations first off. It's a daughter?
Yeah.
First daughter.
First child.
8 months?
8 months.
My daughter's 8 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So how's that changed? How's that changed everything?
I mean, it puts a lot of things into perspective, obviously. Like, I don't fucking matter anymore.
Yep.
It's not about me anymore. It's about her.
Yep.
So no matter what I do has to get done, because I got to support her, and I will kill and maim anyone that tries to stop that.
Yep.
So that's how I look at it. And she brings me so much joy. So it just makes life so much better, dude. Like, I wake up in the morning, I got this little sweet, perfect angel baby saying "Dada," staring at me, you know, like laughing and giggling and crying, and it's amazing. Like,
Yep.
raise her the way I want to raise her, with my wife, who's amazing. You know, like, she's perfect. So I love it. Yeah, we just went to some resort in Boca. It's called the Boca Raton. It's fucking amazing, this place. And we were there for 4 days, and it was like so good to be there with her, because she was like, she loved it so much, you know, like there was a lazy river and we brought her on a little float, and she was going down the river and she was going nuts. And like, we like made this joke, like that she like loves being on vacation. Like, cause when we're out of the house, she's like happy, and like, she's not like,
Yep.
she's not crying. And we're like, this girl loves being on vacation, you know?
Yep.
It cost me a lot of money, but it was worth it. And
Yeah.
it was so nice to see her. Like I'm raising this girl. We're like giving her experiences, and she's only 8 months. So like, when she's 8 and she's able to really like take things in and enjoy them, and like, I can't wait. So I'm excited, and it's like a real blessing. You know,
Yeah.
first of all, like I said, I've known my wife since first grade. We were 6 or 7 years old when we met each other.
Wow.
So to have a child with her is like beyond me. Like, I couldn't even imagine it. That like 10 years ago, if you told me we were gonna have a kid, I would laugh at you, you know? I was still getting hot. So yeah, it's pretty amazing to like raise a daughter with a girl that I always thought I was gonna be with. Like, when I was 6 years old, I was like, I want to date that girl. Like, that was like my dream as a kid. And now I'm married to a child. So
Wow.
God's doing some crazy things in my life, and I believe that he'll do some crazier things, you know?
I mean, it's crazy that you just talked about having this loss and having this huge setback, right?
That's bullshit.
And then we just talked about how beautiful it is that you have a child with a woman that you've known since
first grade.
First grade.
And 32 or 31 years I've known this girl.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's pretty insane.
Yeah. Yeah. So she was with you, or how was she intertwined in your life during drug use, during setbacks, ups and downs?
And then like I'd lie to her a lot, so she would break up with me, because I would just lie because I didn't want her to break up with me. You know, I was trying to get away with shit. And eventually she would have to separate herself. You know, I'm putting needles in my arm. She was like, I can't be around for this. Like, we would separate, and then I'd get sober, we'd get back together, and then I'd relapse. So just like, we would be on and off. And then eventually, when I really got clean, we started talking again. And she was like, listen, I'm only going to talk to you about God. It's the only thing I want to talk to you about. So that's how we started our relationship again was just about God. And then, you know, we started dating again and we got engaged and we got married. So, and I stayed
That's
sober. So that helped a lot.
that's God bless her. That's
Yeah, bro.
beautiful that she said that. I'm only going to talk to you about God.
Yeah.
Um, what was I going to ask? So when your dad, sorry to go back, but when your dad lost the business and that happened, you were what? How old were you? Did you
I
say?
was 12. So like he never lost the business. Like the business got burned down, but he did rebuild it and they kept running it. Like they made like a makeshift store. They ran it out of there and then they finally rebuilt like down the block, a bigger, better building. And so we never lost it, but it did
Right.
go through some big losses. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So when
I was
that
like 12.
happened, did you feel that? Did you like, how did your dad handle it? Do you remember?
I mean, he was pretty like, he drank his way through it.
Mm,
He definitely had some low moments for sure. I mean, they went through so much stress, bro. It was insane. If I told you all the stories and all the things, and it was like really stressful thing to go through. And then they had trial 12 years later. It was the longest trial on the New York City docket in history at the time. I
wow.
still think it was a regular trial is like 3 days,
Yeah.
4 days, maybe 5 days is long. This was a month long trial. So every day going to trial, you know, this is 12 years after the business burned down. And then, so the business burns down 2001. They run the business out of a makeshift warehouse that they owned like behind the store for like a few years. They finally rebuild, move into the new building in like 2006 or 2007. And then the economy collapses in 2008 with the housing bubble.
Yep.
Everything is at a standstill. No one's building, no one's buying, no one's renovating. So the business was now in this new building and suffering because no one's buying shit. All the contract, like, so their major income was contractors, paint, renovations, building homes, building business, you know, building buildings. And then the wholesale end of it, they would sell supplies to like housing complexes, housing projects, commercial businesses, shit like that. And it's all at a standstill for, what was it, 2-3 years until the market came back. So finally, 2011, 2012, 2010, I believe, is when the trial was. So that finally finished. And then finally, 2011, 2012, 2013, the business comes back and makes,
Hmm.
they started doing very well again. Everything came back. And then he finally sold it, like 3 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Worked there since he was 13. So he worked there for 50 years, my dad,
Wow.
and finally sold it after 50 years. It was my grandfather's. So the original business was there from like 1920 or some shit. And then my grandfather came from London after World War II. He fought for the Royal Army, fought in World War II, came to New York with my grandmother, and partnered with this guy who owned the hardware store. It was like a mom and pop little hardware store. They sold little hammers and pots and pans and nails. You know, this is in the fucking 40s and 50s, uh, or the 50s they came. And then my grandfather bought the business, built it up, and then he sold it to my uncle and my dad. And then they finally sold it. 50 years. Yeah, crazy.
Did you ever want to buy it?
No. So I worked there for years. I worked there summers when I was a kid. I worked there, you know, after school in the summer. You know, like I did a lot. I worked there for a long time, but I hated it. I had
Mm,
no desire to fucking work in hardware
yeah.
and sell hardware. It's just it didn't interest me. My dad
Yeah.
wanted us, I have two brothers, but none of us got into it. And plus I had my cousins working there. I had three cousins working there who were there I had two cousins who were there full time. They were old, like 20 years older than me. So, or 15 years older than me. So they were already, so what was I going to do? Like work under them? Fuck that. So, no, plus I started fighting. And now when I found fighting, I was like, I'm going to fight. I'm not going to, this is what I want to do. So,
Yeah. Well, man, one thing that I just kept, it's hard not to think about is the fact that your dad, when you were 12, it burnt down, but you're still dealing with the pain from sexual abuse.
yeah, it was a pretty fucked up. So like from that point, from 9 to 12, when the store burned down, I was starting to get high. I was drinking. I was getting in trouble. We were getting in trouble. I got arrested, or not yet. I didn't get, I almost, so like a year later was the first time I got arrested. But I started acting out really bad. I was getting in trouble in school. I was failing classes, getting suspended, doing stupid shit, smoking weed every day, me and my boys. And then the store burned down. And I was like, holy shit, I'm going to act out even more. And then my parents were like, we're moving to Queens. And I was like, what? I got pissed because all my friends were in Long Island. I didn't want to move to Queens. And then I moved to Queens and all of a sudden I'm in inner city, going to school, inner city. I would get, like it was crazy. Like I would leave my house in the morning to go to school and I would walk to the subway, get on the subway to go to high school. And I would be like, fuck this, I'm not going to school. And I would go to my friend's house, or I would go get something to eat, or I would go to Manhattan, watch a movie. We would just skip school, do whatever the fuck we wanted. Go to Central Park, go to the fucking Queens, go to my boy's crib over here, go to my, we would just do whatever we wanted. Let's go drink. Let's go fucking buy some drugs. Like, so, we were just knuckleheads having fun after school, but we were inner city kids. And we did whatever the fuck we wanted. Let's go to the, let's go here, let's go there. Whatever we wanted to do, we would do. Sometimes I'd be like, all right, I got to go to school.
Yeah.
I got to go past this class. So I don't feel like, I went to summer school every year. I went to summer school. So I never ended school. I would go from winter school to summer school, winter school, summer school for 4 years straight. So when I graduated to 65.1 when I passed and I was done. But I did get accepted to college because of teachers that wrote letters for me, and I was able to fucking schmooze my way in to get accepted to school. And then I was just like, I'm not doing this. I'm not going to fucking school, dude. Fuck this. And that's it. I started fighting, and fighting obviously, changed my life. And that's it, man. That's where I'm at. So
did you ever open up to your parents about what had happened?
Yeah, I ended up telling them when I was like 23.
So were they from 9 to 23? What
I told Christina, my wife, when we were 18, we started dating. I told her for the first time, and she ended up telling my parents.
Wow. Were you happy that she told them, or?
No, I was pissed. I was away in treatment. I was away for 6 months. Crazy facility. This place I was in was insane. Have you ever heard of the therapeutic community?
No.
So it's like a form of treatment. So in the city, there's TCs, therapeutic communities. So it's like 90% of the people that are there are mandated from drug courts. So like, have you ever seen the movie Unguarded with Chris Herring?
Mm-mm.
You know Chris Herring?
I don't.
Really? You don't know his story?
No.
Really?
Now I'm gonna have to look it up.
Insane story. Go watch the movie Unguarded.
Okay.
He was a Celtics player, but he got addicted to OxyContin and heroin, and he would be playing games fucking loaded on OxyContin and shit. Anyways, he went to a TC. He went to Daytop, which actually ended up getting bought by the TC that I went to. It's called Samaritan Village. There's a few of them. There was like Daytop was a really big one. Samaritan Village is huge. There's Renaissance. There's a few of them in the city, and they're long-term treatment centers. So you got caught, but the courts deem you to be a drug addict or you have a drug problem. All right,
Mm-hmm.
so going to jail, we'll send you to treatment, but you're mandated there. So if you leave or if you get in trouble and you get kicked out, you go to jail. So like 90% of the people there are mandated by drug courts. I was there voluntarily because I just had nowhere to go, and someone knew someone there and they got me in there, and I ended up doing 6 months. But it was awesome. Changed my life. Learned a lot there. I had some great roommates, 3 kids, my boy Kevin, Mike, and Edgar, and they're not with us anymore.
Hmm.
All from drugs. And I got really close with all of them. I met their parents, their families. Yeah, they all ended up dying in the last like 4 years.
Wow.
Um, yeah, but so where was I going with this? I don't remember.
You were saying that that you went there. Um,
And I had a point though. I forgot.
yeah.
um,
Well, the big question I have is, do you ever think that
oh,
the
no.
drug?
When I was there, my wife told my parents about my assault.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Question rolls into there. Do you ever think that you would have gotten that heavy into drug addiction if that assault wouldn't have happened?
I think I eventually would have gotten high.
Yeah,
I don't
but
know. Maybe not. I really couldn't. I really don't know. But like, even though that happened, I had to come home and I had certain influences in my life that were like mainstays and family friends, and they are really the ones who introduced me to drugs and alcohol. So I think it would have happened eventually anyways. But who knows? Maybe if I didn't try to like cover up all the pain, maybe I wouldn't have. I don't know.
were your parents suspicious on like uh the drug use, the alcohol?
Yeah, but like my parents were actually super laid back and cool. So like they knew we were smoking pot, and um they didn't really like, they'd be like, listen, you can smoke pot every once in a while, but you can't be fucking everything up. And but they were like really laid back, and my parents were super cool. I have a great relationship with them. Um so it was like easy for me to do this kind of stuff. Like I was selling drugs, my parents knew, and they didn't really stop me or try to stop me. They were big, listen, like, you're gonna get in trouble. You gotta be smart. Like, can't be fucking driving around, walking around with drugs on you in the city. You're gonna get stopped by the cops and arrested, which happened to me. Like, I got arrested like 6 or 7 times in the city, directly or indirectly because of drugs. Um, but they were like pretty cool about it, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
That didn't help. Maybe if they were a little harder on me, or I mean, a lot of my friends that I grew up with, like their parents ended up sending them away to like, they got in trouble, getting arrested, the cops, probation. They would end up like, their parents would be like, oh, you're going away. And like, I had 2 friends or 3 friends. One went away for like 3 years. One went away for like a year and a half. The other went away for like 2 years. And like, this is when we're like 13, 14, like getting sent away to like, not boarding schools, but like, not military school, but like something for kids that are fucking going down the wrong path.
yeah.
So, but no, my parents never, they were thinking about sending me and my older brother away, who was also in recovery. But they never sent us away. And then when the store burnt down, so that kind of threw everything into, my parents were so caught up, to deal with us and the business and this and that. And then we moved to Queens, and I was kind of getting my shit. I was able to hold it together. My older brother was doing pretty decent. But once we hit like 16, 17, 18, there was no stopping us. Like, we were grown men at this point. I'm fighting. What is my mom and dad going to do? Like, like they couldn't restrain me. They couldn't stop me physically. So they eventually, when the drug use got bad, they kicked us out. They were like, listen, we're not going to let you shoot dope in our house. We're not going to let you die here because then that's our fault. I'm not going to wake up come into your room and find you overdose in your bed. Because that's what happened to a lot of my friends. Their parents come in the room and they're dead
Wow.
in their beds. My mom and dad were like, we're not letting you do that. So it's either you get help, which will help you do, or we support you, or get the fuck out. So I would be homeless, like selling drugs, stealing, robbing, panhandling, couch surfing, going to motels, sleeping in the street, going to homeless shelters. So I was like, and then eventually I'd be like, all right, I can't do this anymore. I'm fucking done. And I would go get help.
Yeah.
So my parents like eventually were like, that's it. No more. We're not going to let you die in our house. If you don't want to get help, then you have to get out. So they gave us an ultimatum and it worked.
So it's wild to me that during all of this you were still training, right? Like you trained Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu,
Yeah, if I was
boxing.
like using, I really wasn't training.
Okay, but when you were training, you weren't using.
Early on, I was able to before I was shooting drugs. If I was just popping pills or smoking weed, yeah, I can go train. But once I started shooting heroin and cocaine, there was no training really.
Yeah.
I would be using, and then once I got sober, I would go back to training.
Did you have any coaches that were like, Jared, dude,
Yeah.
you got to stop.
I had a few
Like, you're good.
Still helped me. My coach Jason Strout and my buddy Chris. He still with me. He cornered me in my last fight. Jason cornered me in my Jason corners me in all my fights basically. Now, yeah, and they saw me go through it all, and they were like, "Bro, the fuck are you doing?" But they supported me, and we all got through it. And we've been through a lot together. Me and my team, their own problems, tragedies, my own problems and issues, but we're a team. So
yeah. Did they know that that you got hit by the car?
Yeah, they were there. They were with me when it happened. Yeah, and they were like, "Bro, like, you're gonna fight or what?" And I'm like, "Fuck it." And they're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, who are you?"
Yeah.
Well, they were like, "Maybe you should pull out." And I was like, I'm too hard-headed. I don't know. Maybe I'm too stupid. I think anyone else would have pulled out, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I dared to be great that night. Came up short.
I think there's a lot of fighters that fight with injuries. I don't know if any have gotten hit by a car, but
I don't know. The day before is one thing. Like if you have an existing injury that you've been getting better and dealing with over time, doing physical therapy, you know how it's going to react. That's one thing. But like if you get injured, the next day is the worst time for inflammation. So like,
yep,
it was just too acute. Like, so I need shoulder surgery before my fight with Thiago. I needed shoulder surgery. Going into this fight, my shoulder was so bad. My AC joint's an absolute mess. I'm having surgery next week for it. So I really went into this fight, fucked up shoulder, fucked up knee. I didn't talk about the shoulder because it didn't happen the day before, but yeah, everyone's fighting injured. I know that. I know that. I'm sure my had some nagging injuries also, so.
But they're injured from another fighter, not a car.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the difference.
Not the day before the fucking fight.
Right. Another thing I wanted to ask was you mentioned your grandpa was a heroin addict.
My mother's father sold heroin for the mob and eventually got addicted himself. Yeah.
Was that something you knew at a young age?
I didn't even know my grandfather. He died when I was like 5. So
when'd you find out that story?
My grandmother told me like much later when I was like 29 years old.
Okay.
And there's actually an article, like if it was the largest heroin bust in Detroit history at the time. So my grandfather was working for organized crime family, and he went to Detroit to sell heroin. He's from Harlem. He's from Manhattan, and he got busted over there. Yeah, he did like 8 years in prison in Michigan or some shit like that.
And then you said he boxed for 8 years.
Pro boxer, yeah. He was 38-3 as a pro, yeah.
And he boxed in prison, right?
Boxed in prison. I have pictures of him in prison boxing in the ring.
You got to get those framed.
Garden. They are framed. He fought in Madison Square Garden. Uh, he's fought in the Bronx. He's fought all over New York. He was a fighter. That's what he did.
Dude, it's mind blowing the fact that you mentioned that you were shooting heroin in Penn Station underneath Madison Square Garden,
Yeah.
and then you won a fight, the only fight you fought in Madison Square Garden,
Yeah.
and your grandpa had this very similar trajectory.
Yeah. Yeah.
So before you went into that fight in Madison Square Garden, was there a thought of like, man, I was so far below, like literally and metaphorically, before that fight?
I didn't really, like when I have fights, I just kind of go in there and have faith and go do my thing.
Yep.
But yeah, I thought about it, all the thing, the before, all my grandfather coming up, just getting high in that, in Penn Station in that area. And then now I'm fighting there. Yeah, it's a pretty surreal experience.
Mm-hmm. Jared, I got one more question for you.
Bro.
So you're open about your faith, which I'm always rooting for you. Like when I see that, I love that. So fighting, it's such a physical sport. And I think a lot of people that watch think, what a violent sport. So they probably can't understand how the two worlds fit, fighting and faith, right? How do you bring those two worlds together?
Well, I came to the realization a while ago that I'm not fighting to be famous and to be, even though that's a plus and that's part of, the spotlight and all that. And it's to, help people that struggled like I did with addiction and mental health and whatever else. So, like, I believe God gave me this platform to help others. So that's why I use it. And that's why I trust in Him to guide me and grow my platform so that I can continue to push His kingdom and push His word and help other people. So I'm doing it for His purpose, to be His servant and help my brothers and sisters. So I believe like my faith is part of that, and it all goes hand in hand.
Well said. Do you want to talk about Diamond Recovery or
Yes, partnered with Diamond Recovery. They are a treatment center for mental health and substance abuse. They have a location in Tallahassee, Palm Beach Gardens, Atlanta, California, and they're opening one more up north somewhere. I think New Jersey or something like that, but don't hold me to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a great facility, beautiful facility, top of the line, top notch. I've gotten a few people in there. Yeah, great place, great. The owners are sober guys. They're all wonderful people, and they help me help others. So,
yeah. And what about Fight Story? Beautiful
Fight Story,
videos, by the way.
Is an organization that got started by Angela Lee. Her sister. So they're a family of fighters. Her parents were both martial artists. They own a gym. Her brother is a 1FC champion, or was a 1FC champion. She was a 1FC champion, and her sister was 18. Victoria was in 1FC also. She was 3-0 as a pro, but she sadly took her own life because of the stress and of fighting and trying to fill the shoes of her family and living as a martial artist and be a fighter and a champion. And I guess it was too much for her to bear, and she sadly took her own life. So Angela started a non-for-profit called Fight Story to try to support fighters with a mental health platform if they're suffering, dealing with depression, anxiety, fight performance related stuff. And we're creating something called a mental fight kit, which will help support fighters in fight camps to get mental health resources if they're struggling, or if they just want sports psychology or any kind of support. UFC became one of our brand ambassadors and one of the corporate sponsors. So UFC's on board, and we're building it out, and it's almost ready. It should be done in the next few months, to maybe a month or two, until the whole thing is up and running. And yeah, so I'm part of that as well. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, bro.
Awesome. Jared, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
The Heart of the Bad Wolf is created and hosted by Nicholas James Muscarella. Produced by Nicholas James Muscarella and Robert Altschuler. Edited, recorded, and mixed by Robert Altschuler at Command Creative Studios. Music by Alex Grohl. Special thanks to every fighter who shared their story and their wolf. Don't forget to hit the like, follow, and subscribe button on your favorite podcast platform to get notified when new episodes drop. Also, make sure you follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Heart of the Bad Wolf.